What's going on? It's Ed here from Clicksgeek, and today I've got Ronnie from Ronnie's Unique Auto in Dirty Jersey. I used to live in Jersey, so I can say that. Ronnie, welcome to the show, man.
How you doing, Ed? Thank you.
I'm doing well. So today we're going to talk about the junk car industry and your junk car business, auto repair business, all the things that you're doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started? Give me a little bit of context, a little background.
Okay, so first and foremost, the junk car business end of it is part-time for us. Currently at the moment it's part-time.
Okay.
We operate a auto repair and tire shop, and we're doing junk cars now. We've been doing junk cars for about 4 or 5 months lately. That's when we started it back up. Prior to that, we were doing junk cars back in around 2002. We started, and that went on for a few years. We stopped around I'd say around 2012, 2013, around that range. I can hardly ever make long stories short, so I'm going to try to do the best of it. It really is a long story how I got involved. I got involved with junk vehicles, buying junk cars, and that process by accident. Okay, I got involved doing that from a friend who actually had an older truck, and he was looking to finance a newer truck. So at the time, he came to me, and he wanted to sell his truck to go purchase his newer truck. I was operating a auto detail business. Had no knowledge in the junk car industry whatsoever. Had no thrive in it. I wasn't interested in doing an additional business, and I kind of don't even want to say that he talked me into it, because I hate to say I'm a person where I'm not a follower, for one. I don't let people out. I don't get persuaded. I let this guy talk me into basically helping him, and his method of me helping him, he said it was going to help me as well. And in the long run, here 20 years later, it has. So, and I'll explain to you how that happened. So I brought this truck from him, and after he persuaded me to buy it, he kept saying, he's like, Ronnie, you could junk cars as well. You should buy this truck from me, because even on the side you can make money. And he's telling me what he's doing and what it's all about. I really had no interest in it. I've always brought and sold cars. I had a small car lot back then as well, and I looked at it as, all right, I'm gonna make the investment, but not so much as the junk cars. I'm gonna buy the truck from him, help him out. What I'm gonna do with the truck, I'm not really sure, to tell you honestly. I don't know if I'm gonna resell it, make some money on it, keep it for once I do decide to go into auto repair business, which I did shortly after, utilize it for that, or do what he recommended and start doing junk cars. So anyway, make a long story short, on the side, we started advertising, started doing junk cars on the side. The truck that he brought, he later, maybe a year later, things went bad for him in many different ways, and he got the truck repossessed. I wound up buying that truck from the bank. Okay, so now I had both trucks, but this was a newer truck. It was a flatbed, and we just went further into it. Started doing more junking, and this was a while back. At that time, we were buying cars for $25 to $50. Back in 2002, 2003. I don't recall exactly where scrap was at dollar-wise, but it was low. I want to say it was around $3, $4, 100, something like that. And I recall buying cars for $25, $50. In some situations, if they weren't local, the customers would pay us to come in and pick them up. If we had to drive 45 minutes to pick up a junk car, we weren't paying for it. They were paying us $50 to take it off their property. So scrap, started getting better and better. The amounts are growing larger. It got to the point where, years later, it's up around $6, $7, $8 per hundred. Around 2008, I wound up buying a brand new truck, and at that time, scrap had hit an all-time high. It hit $15 per hundred. So we were, of course, more focused, and I didn't have the detail shop at that time, but I had to open up an auto repair shop. I was doing auto repair, started getting into tires at that point. And we were also doing some towing. We were doing a little bit of motor club, dealer tows, private tows. But when scrap hit 1,500, that changed the whole ball game up. So I kind of made a mistake at that point. I had the truck that I brought from the gentleman that had the vehicle that got repossessed. I had that truck. I had the brand new truck that I brought. I decided to utilize the new truck to do strictly junk cars.
Okay.
I stopped doing motor clubs. I stopped doing dealer tows. I stopped doing private tows. 1,500, we want the junk. And I'll tell you the reason why. Back then, we're talking about 2008. Okay, we would do 30 mile radius, 45 minute drive. Okay, we would do we were doing dealer tows for $65, $75 a car. What did that mean? That meant a flatbed, take 2 cars, you get $150 for taking that trip. Okay, but a 45-minute truck in a flatbed, not being able to take the parkway, taking some back roads, on average, you'd be an hour to hour and 20 minutes one way. So let's just round that out. Let's just say a 3-hour trip, right? Back and forth, load and unload time. And a 3-hour trip, we made $150 to tow 2 vehicles. As scrap with junking cars, we would buy a vehicle for $200, and that vehicle was doing $500 in the yard. So we're making $300 profit in less time, staying local, and that's just the base. We made $300 on that trip. We still had catalytic converters, we still had aluminum wheels, we still had the batteries, we still had processing, so those extra items. And back then, the way I was doing it was catalytic converters back then was not what they are today, but they were still money. So I would set aside every vehicle that we junked that had aluminum wheels, that had catalytic converters and the battery. Those 3 items would come off of the vehicles. We'd stack them away. I would turn those in once a month. Every month, whatever catalytic converters, rims, batteries, even sometimes steel wheels, whatever we would turn in, that money would go towards overhead. There were times where my overhead was only just the truck and the insurance. There was times when I had the shop and I had expense of the building and stuff like that. But every month, turning those items in, that would automatically at least pay for the truck payment. At the time I had the truck that was financed, it would pay for the insurance, and then some left over. But the profits every time that we turned those vehicles over, we were picking up vehicles, cutting the cats off, taking the aluminum wheels off, and taking them right to the yard. That profit would run anywhere between 100 to 400. We're talking instant profit, and it could be as little as a 20-minute tow that we did to acquire that junk vehicle, up to even taking an hour trip. But still in all, like I said, we were taking an hour and 20-minute trip prior to make $150, and an hour and 20 minutes back. Here we're most of the time taking less than an hour trip, and we're making $200, $300, $400, instant, not including the items that we would take off and turn in once a month. So that's how I got into the business. And scrap it hit 1,500 back in 2007 and 2008, around that range. Mm-hmm. I also watched it crash like the stock market. I watched it go down to $2.50 per 100. And that's why I say I made a mistake. The mistake that I made back then was I focused strictly on scrap. I had 2 trucks, one that I decided to let sit, the new one I put on the road, dealing with strictly scrap. And I could have done things a little bit differently. At that point, I felt that maybe I should have had the older truck doing strictly scrap. The brand new truck I should have kept on the road, dealing with motor clubs, staying with the, some accounts that I had acquired, and took it all. So then when scrap went down, I still had, the other study work, which is, it wasn't the gravy, but it was enough to, to stay afloat. When it went down $2.50, I recall, and then I watched it climb back up $3 per 100, $4 per 100. I think it hit as high as maybe $5. At that time, I still had the auto repair shop, and I was focusing more on that. So I wound up selling the truck and getting out, stopping junk cars altogether. And which brings it back to today. Now, catalytic converters, everything sort of took a different turn. Instead of scrap being high and catalytic converters being, medium, it took a turn. Now we're seeing catalytic converters out of control. Not as much as they were a year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, catalytic converter pricing was through the roof. It's came down a good amount, but it's still decent right now.
Mhm.
So currently, brings us to the point of sort of why we started to. I've always said for the last 3 years. I mean, I'm a procrastinator sometimes. 3 years, maybe even 4. I'm going to start doing junk cars again. Car buying, should I say? We advertise we buy all cars, not just junk cars. But I've been saying it for a while, and decided to jump back on board, doing it part time, but we're looking to take it a little bit further and possibly even go full time.